So you're welcome back. Like I said, we're returning with the newspaper review. Roland Walker, I'm going to make you start today. You will not go all ladies first on me today.
It's no problem. But Araba is also joining. Araba, good morning to you. Right, right, right.
All right, we'll get to Araba.
Yeah, please start with the Ghanaian Times.
All right, I have the Ghanaian Times here.
The post. Yeah. My friend.
Okay. May the rest of your days be filled with this sort of laughter.
Amen.
I really wish that for you.
Bethel
Methodist Church, Tema Community 8. And I'm saying shout out to all the members of Bethel Methodist Church, Tema Community 8. Okay. All right. All right, so Ghanaian Times newspaper, what does it say? It comes with a picture of the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. And the story is, will evacuate stranded Ghanaians home. That's according to the Foreign Ministry. It comes with President Swesin Mensah Bonsu Kolendi as Supreme Court judges. And congratulations to them. I'm so excited for Professor Mensah Bonsu. This is just amazing news for me. And then JC Nets to shut down on Monday as ICOMS takes over. That has been a very controversial story, trust me. It's on page 20 of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. When we get the chance, we'll go a bit more into that story. On the back page, 3,000 Ejuso Drabin rice farmers to benefit from MOFA subsidized inputs. And Anglo-Gold Ashanti marks Africa Day, pledges to sustain fight against COVID-19. So something we definitely should. Let's take a look at the center spread. All right, just a quick center spread. President Swesin Mensah Bonsu Kolendi as Supreme Court judges, and it comes with a picture of President Akufo-Addo and Professor Mensah Bonsu. Beautiful one there. Will evacuate stranded Ghanaians on Foreign Ministry. It comes with a picture of the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister, Charles Oredu, and then 2 COIs donate 10 ventilators to fight COVID-19. That story is there as well. And Ghana's COVID-19 confirmed cases now 6,964. Well, the figure has changed. All right, the figure has changed. We'll give you the details. Roland, what do you have?
Well, I do have the Daily Guide. The Daily Guide has on the front page, chaos in NDC over new register. And so about a story that it's not well within the NDC. They seem to be indicating or oozing confusing signals according to the Daily Guide right here. And the story is on page 3 of the paper. We also do have on the front page, killer landlord remanded. And there's a story that if you get to JoyNews on TV on Facebook, JoyNews TV on YouTube for us, and then also at JoyNews on TV on Twitter, all our main handles and myjohnline.com, you get to find that the traffic or the traction that the story has attracted is just marvelous. We have the picture of the suspect and the victim all here. We do have Victor Steve Nana Kankam, and then also the late Benjamin Autry, who is a victim. Obinim begging Kennedy for forgiveness. I'm talking about Kennedy Japan. Well, we brought you the concluding part of that interaction right here on JoyNews. That was on Tuesday evening, yeah, from 6:30 p.m. People were even calling for more. I think that we have to be doing serialized weekly interactions with Kennedy Japan. The week with Kennedy Japan. Malian petitions CID over harassment. It's also on the front page of the Daily Guide. Let's go to the back page. And the back page of the paper has the caption, Dichamso AstroTurf progresses. And it says, work on the AstroTurf project at Dichamso in the Menchia South constituency. That's the back page of the Daily Guide. It's continuing. It says this is continuing. The project is the brainchild of Matthew Opoku Prempeh, nicknamed Napo, the member of parliament for the constituency. Just wondering, why wasn't this built in 2017? Now 2020. Election year was good. Napo,
election year is always a year we build things.
Yeah.
I mean,
Napo, good morning to you.
All the political parties do that.
Strict to the hilt, but that's okay.
Okay.
Redknapp linked to Nigeria job. Harry Redknapp is one of the old coaches we can never find. He's now 73 and apparently has been linked to the national team coaching job in Nigeria. Barca, though, is under pressure to sell to balance accounts, and they're racing against the club to bring in about 70 million euros in player sales before the end of June to balance the club's account. And many clubs have been reeling under extreme pressure. If you look at the P&L statement, just not good. The balance sheet having problems altogether. Let's go to the dispatch. The dispatchers of the front page. How Samir Oku's statement on John Mahama's possible VIP is likely to give Kwesi Botwe the urge. Get the Daily Dispatch to get to know her really, because there are a number of individuals here. Kwesi Botwe, professor, one-time finance minister, and then also
you do have it on your screen though. Those are the pictures there for you.
Mr. Iwada, former tour boss. Alex Mould was on your screens just about last week with Evans Mensah and Dr. Kwabena for former finance minister. All right. We also do have Captain Retired Kojo Chikate's submission to the Reconciliation Commission in 2002, 2003, 2004. National Reconciliation Commission. This one was quite revealing. A political scientist analysis of the 2016 elections all here. Look, it is the election headquarters. Well featured by the Daily Dispatch. And when Araba joins us, I'll tell you about the election-related bulletin that Araba will be hosting. She'll tell us more of that. But Roland, I see a very interesting development here. So on the Ghanaian Times newspaper, it says, will evacuate stranded Ghanaians home. That's Foreign Ministry. But on the Daily Graphic, it says, government yet to decide on stranded Ghanaians. 230 that
ready.
Shows that there are two individual.
I'm just wondering, 230 ready to foot evacuation bill from South Africa. And so I tried to look up the story, and it says that more Ghanaians who have been stranded across the world due to COVID-19 border closures are expected to be evacuated in the coming weeks, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration has indicated. But when you come here, it says government yet to decide. That's on the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says government has yet to decide on stranded Ghanaians. And the story is that the government has not taken a decision on the evacuation of stranded Ghanaians abroad. A Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, Mr. Charles Redu, has said. However, he said the government has collected a substantial amount of data on such persons from 63 missions abroad, and the process was still ongoing. That's what the Daily Graphic is reporting. So there's a bit of a discrepancy there, I think, and hopefully in our subsequent bulletins we'll be able to get some clarity from the Foreign Affairs Ministry. But that's the Daily Graphic's front page. It also has a story about two armed robbers who have been jailed for 100 years. That story is on page 23. Comes with also a picture of George A.C. Boateng, Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa. That's what the story about being evacuated is related to. And then there is no registration of schools without PTA. That's according to the National Inspectorate Board. And Ofankor landlord remanded. That story you have in other bulletins as well. We have also brought you that story on our social media platforms and also in our main bulletins yesterday. An electoral commission meets political parties today, but NDC declines participation. Roland, you recall that yesterday in our discussion with the political scientists and the civil society groups, they indicated that we may not be able to have a consensus, but we can make some compromises. Now, we're seeing the story that's talking about the Electoral Commission meeting with political parties, but we're told that NDC has declined participation. So it'll be an interesting development. We'll try and follow up on that story as well and get you informed on what will happen from there. On the back page of Daily Graphic, Republic of Korea donates 50,000 relief items to Zongos. Immigration officers arrest 3 Nigerians for illegal entry. I don't know why people keep coming in. I mean, I really don't know. Okay, so let me give you quickly our center spread for Daily Graphic before we go to Araba Kumsin. And it comes with a very beautiful picture of Yoni Kolendi and Professor Mensah Bonsu. President justifies appointment of non-career judges to Supreme Court. We'll take a look at that story as well. And then 2 companies donate ventilators to government. AU launches initiative in honor of Kofi Annan. That's on the center spread of the Daily Graphic. Grab yourself a copy or download the app and take a look at it.
All right. We do have Araba on stream. Araba, good morning to you. I've seen posters of you flying around. And we got educated on related issues of education on election. You look good, though, Charlie. When you get out of bed, Charlie, it's so romantic.
Okay. Really, Roland?
Yeah,
really?
but
we can't hear you. Well, you got to work it out so we can hear you. So whilst we try and hear from Araba, Roland, can we go with something else?
Yes, I wanted to do
please.
The related story on the stock market, because it's not only in Ghana that the stock market has not been doing well. We also are experiencing it around the world. This is well captured on the front page of the Gold Street Business, and it says stock market loses some 11.18 billion Ghana cedis in capital in 2 years. Now, the loss for the first 5 months of 2020 is in the sum of some 2.4 billion Ghana cedis. Other stories also occupying the front page of the Gold Street Business. We have COVID-19 and the matters arising related to agriculture. Peasant farmers pursue government for 75% subsidy on fertilizer, while they also lament the lack of spraying kits for extension officers on the field. It's a concern because we do know that if we don't have enough food within the year, we could have some shortages already.
For security.
Yeah, there's some concerns, even though the Food and Agriculture Ministry keep giving us those assurances. A review of outmoded business regulatory regimes also underway has an attached caption of Alan Tremantin, who is the Minister of Trade and Industry. Front page of the Gold Street Business it is. You'll see it on your screen soon, but if you don't, we'll move on to the next paper. You have any other paper you want to do? No?
You didn't give me any, but if you give me any, I'll go through them.
Okay, let me give you this.
Okay.
So, do that.
This is how men behave, isn't it? All right. So, I have the
Me Too movement.
well, this is not Me Too. I have the Publisher newspaper comes with lots of very bright, beautiful pictures. GC Net shut down on Monday. New order from above. Fear grip report importers and port users. So each story you get a different angle based on which paper it is and who takes care of that paper. So it says GCNet shuts down one day, new order from above, fear and grip reporters and ports users. It comes with a picture of Yao Osafo Mafo and then Amisha Dai Owusu Amwa. That story is on page 5. Killer landlord charged, page 11. It comes with that picture of Nana Kankam, the landlord who allegedly shot the tenant. 2 MPs get COVID-19, but Speaker denies report. That's how this story puts it. It comes with a picture of Right Honorable Professor Aaron Michael Quay. And on that page, well, something for you to stay safe, how to stay clean and wash your hands and wear your masks away from COVID-19. What do they have on the center spread? Honorable Aponche threatens to sue AY Poyo. Well, that's a story we brought you like 3 days or so ago. Government don't owe showbiz personalities any support. I think the word should be government doesn't owe, right?
I think both are correct. Yes.
Well, that's if you want to sound American. But this is a story that's attributed to Socrates Safo. Then Shatawale descends on bloggers. And controller dismisses salary validation challenge, also bank lending rates falling, according to a report. And NBSSI is here. It is cautioning against illegal charges. Today, when we get to talk to them, we'll find out from them what is happening. What are they picking up so far from their operations, which just started about last week. So we'll get more on that. Do we have Araba to connect with us at this point, though? Okay, I'm not quite sure about that, Roland. Maybe we should move forward with you.
Yeah, and so let me do the last one before Araba comes in. We have a custodian. NDC rebels against the EC again. Boycott IPAC meeting today. And we all did know that the IPAC meeting was coming off today, or will come off today. Yeah. Up there, we also on the side, we have Akufo-Addo swears in Supreme Court Justices Mensah Bonsu, Yoni Kulendi, and then we have other stories also the two companies donate 10 ventilators to government to fight COVID-19. Dan Butcher promotes COVID-19 safety measures in his constituency, and that's a good one there. All right, now let's go to Araba. Araba, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Great.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Perfectly, and the lights looks, you know, brighter.
But Araba, I have a concern. I think many female activists want to promote females and their role, but you keep calling even male and female guys. So I keep wondering, and I've seen it on social media, especially when they want to post pictures of their friends to celebrate birthdays. They keep referring to females with that male gender pronouns and all that. Is this something that we have to fight, get onto the streets and protest about?
I think it's a slang that's used commonly by everyone.
I know that.
Really, I mean, we shouldn't take ourselves so serious. So, I mean, again, good morning, guys. How are you all doing?
Charlie.
Good morning, Araba. It's good to see you.
Right. Unfortunately, my internet connectivity here is not the best, but thankfully, I've gotten through. So I'll quickly jump onto the Finder. And on the front page of the Finder, it has 8 hospitals receive 10 ventilators from Peawood Tema Warehouse to fight the COVID-19. It also has a picture of the president and the new Supreme Court judges who swore into office yesterday. And he says, help protect the independence of the judiciary. President to Kulendi. Also, Sekendi Takrade and Takwa are new hotspots for COVID-19. That's also on the front page of the Finder. We heard that from the health officials yesterday at the presser. And security personnel, informants, fighting smuggling to be compensated by COCOBOT. So that's some good news there on the front page of the Finder. In the middle page, it has a story about the country's debt stock. And it says, it's a feature, and it says, public debt higher than the Bank of Ghana's 59.3% and can't defy gravity without the Bank of Ghana. On the back page, it has a story about the speaker and what happened yesterday. And the speaker is saying that it's compulsory to test for COVID-19. And also, a minister makes case for quarterly disinfection of police cells. That's the Central Regional Minister during the disinfection exercise yesterday. Also, 4 Nigerians arrested for illegal entry and bribery. And that's on the back page of the Finder. But I also have the Daily Statesman. And the main story, the headline story is, the law must always prevail. And that's the president tasking the new Supreme Court judges to uphold the rule of law. Also, Asasi Radio 99.5 FM set to take over the airways. Well, they're welcome. And can't be blamed for your incompetence. That's Sami Ewuku talking to the NDC, and you know the back and forth between the NDC over the compilation of the new voters register. So that's on the front page of the Daily Statesman.
Okay.
Well, in a pick for us, I was just thinking the related story about the IPAC meeting that the Electoral Commission has slated today, and the insistence of the NDC not to participate. Perhaps we can have a pick or two on the subject. I don't know what Araba thinks about it, because we know there's a long-standing issue has been on for the last couple of months about the register and the non-cooperation or cooperation of the Electoral Commission.
Well, we all know the position of the NDC when it comes to the compilation of the new voters register. And they've always been consistent in their opposition of the EC's decision to compile a new register. But I think that it's important for them to at least listen to what the commission has to say. Perhaps the commission has shifted its position. Perhaps it's willing to compromise. We don't know that. So it's important that they give a listening ear to the commission and then decide going forward, rather than decide not to participate in the meeting at all.
And that said, it's interesting to bring in the conversation we had yesterday when with the civil society organizations, which, you know, essentially were pushing for some sort of limited registration, if at all. I mean, well, it's necessary. So we also limit the potential of spread of coronavirus, for example. Who knows? Maybe that's going to be a part of the discussion today. So, like you say, it'll be good for the NDC to participate. But I think they just usually try to make a point with some of these actions, like, so for you to know that we disagree with you. But again, like Araba said, everybody's position is clear. The EC's position is clear. We're going ahead nonetheless. MPP's position is clear. We support the Electoral Commission. NDC's position is clear. We don't support any of this. We don't want, you know, all of this. But the NDC is also in court, Araba, so over the inclusion of the voters register, the existing voters register in the new registration. So it'll be interesting to see the outcome of this particular meeting today. Well, Roland, what you think?
Well, we do know that at the end of the day, it's only cooperation. And then also some level of dialogue that will create the consensus, because we do need that consensus in the run-up to elections for 2020. It will have an effect on how each of the stakeholders tend to appreciate or accept the result or the outcomes. And usually we've seen this characterizing elections and the posture of the opposition or the incumbent party when we have elections coming up, especially in a first term or even in a transitional phase. What I think that both parties need to do, the Electoral Commission on one hand and the NDC, is to make sure that they reach out to each other. Something has got to give. The posture and the way they are gravitating towards opposite ends needs to change. We just have 5 months to the election. If you listen to our experts on Wednesday or on Tuesday, you get to find that everybody is worried about the posture because we don't have time on our hands. COVID-19 is now with us. So that opportunity or the leeway that you have for you to navigate and play politics around related issues that you have concerns about doesn't give way to you to have your information flowing to the right sort of audiences. And I'm hoping that the Electoral Commission will reach out to the NDC. The NDC too will reach out to the Electoral Commission so that they meet each other halfway. So far, I don't think that the posturing is right on both sides.
Well, if they respect their followers, they respect the people of Ghana well enough, they probably will listen to the people of Ghana, which is what we should do anyway. Yesterday, the doctor from KNUST indicated that it's very difficult to reach a consensus. We've seen it over the years and how it happens. And in the end, you get the followers also take this side. So we need to get to a compromise, like Roland said, and hopefully we will get there. Two stories stand out for me, though, Roland. The new judges that are going to the Supreme Court, and the story about Ghanaians who are stranded abroad. I mean, those are the two stories that stand out for me. And Araba, this is a great day for all the gender activists. You know, Professor Mensah Bonsu is heading to the Supreme Court. It's great news, great news. And we all know what Professor Mensah Bonsu stands for. And I think that the feminists and the gender, you know, advocates should all, I mean, they should follow how Professor Mensah Bonsu does her, you know, her feminism, so to speak. I don't think she identifies as an extreme feminist, but I think that you see the balance that she brings to the conversation anytime we're talking about gender equality and all of those things. And I think this is great news. Congratulations to her. We're all excited. And Yoni Kolendi, I mean, from the son of a pito seller in the upper west region all the way to the Supreme Court, people listened to him at the vetting and they were like, wow, this guy is something, or somebody that we need at the Supreme Court. So we're looking forward to the execution of their work, you know, in a way that all Ghanaians will be able to appreciate, and there will be justice served everywhere that there is. And I think that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs should come out clear. What is it that they're doing with the Ghanaians who are stranded? Are we evacuating them, or government has yet to decide? Now, the Ghanaian Times and the Daily Graphic are reporting what doesn't seem to be the same. What is it really? They should clear things up so people who are stranded will know what to do. I personally think we should give it some time and let the people...
Araba, you have any friends stranded in one of those countries?
Fortunately, no, I don't have any friends stranded at all.
Right. But I'm thinking, you know, government took a position early on in this debate back in February and subsequently in March. And we hosted Okujeto Ablakwa, who is a ranking on the Foreign Affairs Committee right here on the show. And he did indicate, just like he was advocating back then, that government needed to take the step to make sure that Ghanaians who were stranded. First, the target demographics were students of Ghanaian origin in China at the epicenter at the time. And I think that maybe government inaction at the time or decision not to evacuate seemed to have sent some mixed signals to Ghanaians ultimately who were stranded and are still stranded in some of those respective countries, because we found out that over time the disease burden in relation to coronavirus has worsened in the more developed countries than in ours, because we had hindsight to be able to close our borders in time. And I think if
did we close our borders in time? Well, that's a big debate. We didn't, I think.
Well, yeah. So if we had those Ghanaians who were stranded evacuated, definitely we would have quarantined them. We would have kept them in isolation, screened them before we let them loose into the population. So there were protocols that we needed to observe. Now, it looks like government is giving all these mixed signals again. I don't think that it bodes well. I don't know what Araba and Gifty thinks about the posture of government on this position.
I think all over the world, the governments are, some people are paying. So there are people who are ready to pay for the evacuation.
For them to be brought back home?
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm not sure Ghanaians are included.
No, Canada, they're all doing that. So there are people who are willing to pay for the evacuation. So if you're willing to pay, then you can go ahead with it. But there are people who are not. So I think the government needs to categorize these people. Those who are willing to pay, those who cannot pay, those who are...
Ghanaian hustler willing to pay and come back to Ghana.
No, but there are business people who are stranded there, who need to come back home, who are willing to pay. We bring them back, we quarantine them, we test them as we're doing, and hopefully we'll get our way through that.
Right, can you talk about this story?
Yes, please.
The landlord who killed his tenant.
Yeah.
That's
we
a
touched
very
a bit on it yesterday.
Bizarre story.
Yeah. Perhaps go on.
Well, I can't stop thinking about that story, because I'm just wondering, what if I was in a similar situation? What would I have done? I wouldn't have had any option. I mean, I would be dead by now. But I mean, it's very sad, considering that, you know, we are in these times when people are actually struggling, you know. So people should be a bit more empathetic. We've had stories of landlords waiving, you know, tenants' fees. And I think that people should be a little bit more empathetic. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Yes, empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. And yesterday he was in court. I think they charged him.
Yes.
And his posture, I mean, you should see him. He doesn't appear to be remorseful about the act, you know. So I just felt that this is a very serious story. People should learn from this. People should be empathetic in these times that people are struggling.
It's exactly the same thing I said yesterday. But then I think also that, I mean, it's an allegation. The guy has been tried in court. He says he did it in self-defense. So I think we look at both sides, that even if you don't have the money, how do you engage your landlord in a way that, you know, works, in a way that's understandable?
Well, I think I tend to agree with Arab. On one hand, it's an allegation. He has his own alibi or position that he's taken in court. But ultimately, it's also about how we need to make sure those who are key stakeholders in our society, because of their class or their privilege, would also need to show some level of empathy. Because the empathy is very important. People are going through some hard times. And this is the time that those who tend to gravitate towards, look, I think that I'm more privileged, and so I need to milk the period. And you get to find that businesses are also trying to use the period to make profits, etc. And the landlords will do the same too. It's a logical thing. But I think that we need to be humane in the way we tend to deal with some of these subjects. And I think this is one of the negative fallouts which subsequently has resulted in this tragic situation.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to decide for the court, but from what we had heard from witnesses, etc., I think that more cooperation, patience, and then letting loose the heated anger would have prevented this on the part of the landlord.
Yeah,
because if you're going to your tenant's home, and that is his home, whether once you have not evicted him, that is his home, and you're wielding a gun, there's a certain posturing that you've taken. Yeah. And I think that's what Araba is referring to. Or Araba, is that not what you're referring to?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's get to myjoyonline.com. We've got loads and loads of news there. 2 more die of COVID-19 as Ghana's case count rises to 7,117. I don't know whether to be scared or to... I think we've got to a point where we become, you know, sort of, what's the right word? We're just taking it in as it comes. Araba can help me with the word as we
New
go
normal.
along.
Oh, this is
well, you know, initially when you see the figures and it changes the next day, you go like, oh wow, you know, and everybody is sharing it. And right now it's like we're almost expecting it. Okay, inter-party resistance against new voter register threatened to disrupt mass registration exercise. That's a threat coming from that party-led that group. Bernard Mona speaks for them. Yesterday we did it on the Pulse. Government NDC agree on holding December election despite COVID-19, and no MPs of Parliament staff have tested for COVID-19. Mr. Kennedy Japan is there as well. GRA will offer tax relief to COVID-19 donors. That's Sofia Akufo speaking. Government to hold final talks on easing of restrictions on Friday, and we're looking forward to that very day. That's on myjoyonline.com. Give yourself the chance to click and get that information as well. Well,
Araba, thank you for joining us this morning. We wish you a pleasant day. You're coming to the office, aren't you?
Of course.
I am. I'll see you in a bit.
Charlie, we thank you for your empathy, helping us. That's our new.
No, but Araba, I think you should tell us a bit more about your show.
Yeah, your show.
Yeah.
Tell us just
in 30 seconds. I think that'll be it.
Okay, it's called the election brief. As you know, we are close to about a little 6 months or more shy of the elections, and so on Monday we will be premiering our election show. It's a 30-minute show of all that's happening within the political arena, and it's we'll be talking to the political actors, we'll be talking to stakeholders within the political arena. And it's all about politics and what's happening with the political parties, everything to do with politics that should inform you up until December 7th to make your vote. Wow. So it's starting on Monday, June 3rd.
Okay. And it's starting at 1:30. And Araba, it's 1:30 to 2 p.m., right?
Yes, it's a 30-minute show.
All right.
Well, thank you, Araba. And then this is where we have to transition and take a break. But it's the birthday of one of our lovely boys around here, and Joseph Frimpong Kofi Akable. It's your birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's his birthday
today. Our court correspondent, Joseph Akable, smart guy, smart guy.
He's our incoming lawyer after Samson.
Sports now. Let's go.
Okay, bye.